welcome to the Jeff Rubin Show. I'm Jeff Rubin. Let's get right into it. This week we are going to be interviewing Peter Berkman, who plays Nintendo both for fun and as an instrument in a band called Anamanaguchi. And these guys aren't just a video game jukebox cover band that does an incredible version of the Ice Climbers theme. Not that that wouldn't be worth talking about too. This band is using the Nintendo as one of several instruments to create original music, and Pete's going to explain how they do that and what that means. But before we get into it, I wanted to give you just a base familiarity with the band's sound. So here is Airbrush by Anamanaguchi, and here we go. For the benefit of those that aren't familiar with the band, can you explain what Anamanaguchi does?
Yeah, basically we like hack old Nintendos and stuff, and well, hack is a funny word, but yeah, no, we use the sound chips of basically old consoles and make them synthesize music that we want them to make instead of video game music that they did make. And we add guitars and drums and turn it into a punk rocky, dancey kind of fun lightning bolt thingy.
What I like about Anamanaguchi, what I like about your band, is that there's a lot of chiptune music, and I love video games, but chiptune never really did anything for me. But I'm more of a rock kind of guy, and Anamanaguchi takes that chiptune and surrounds it with this shell of rock.
A magic shell, if you will, like the icing.
It seems like it could be a gimmick. There are chiptune bands that use it as a gimmick, but you guys are surrounding it with real music, which is, or not, I don't want to say real music. I don't want to write off the Nintendo, but you're surrounding it with traditional instruments.
Yeah, well, basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to treat the usage of the Nintendo as less of like a technical experiment and more as just the piece of an aesthetic puzzle that we're trying to put together.
Why the Nintendo specifically? Why not Super Nintendo or TurboGrafx-16 or even just a traditional synthesizer?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. Well, from this point, as of right now, we've released a couple things. Like I made an EP in high school that's up on 8bitpeoples.com, which is the net label for free. And then we did another EP, and then we did the Scott Pilgrim video game soundtrack. And yeah, those are all done using the Nintendo and some tracks using the Game Boy. Those are the sounds that I kind of grew up with and that I'm familiar with. Although I played Genesis and Super Nintendo, obviously, of course, and 64 and
how old
everything
are you?
else. I was actually born in 1988, which is 3 years after the Nintendo came out. But I have an older brother who told me that Contra was the best thing ever, and I had a dad who wouldn't let me read until I beat The Legend of Zelda.
I'm 6 years older than you. That's an entire console generation.
Absolutely,
that's usually how long. And yet we're both into what I think are the same type of Nintendo games.
Yeah. Well, the idea behind using it as an instrument kind of came from just like loving the sounds, and the lightning rod moment kind of happened when I was in high school, and I was recording like Weezer covers in my basement with my friend George, and we were playing Mega Man 2, and we were playing through the Bubble Man level, and I was like, this song vaguely sounds like Sunny Day Real Estate or Fugazi. There's like something rhythmically here that I get on like a musical level that's outside of video games. And we were like, this is a great song. So we covered that song. And then about like 2 weeks later, like after I was like in a complete binge of like playing through Contra, playing through like Contra 2, just like having my Nintendo out and trying to beat through all the like the hard games or whatever, there was this article in Wired magazine that was talking about people in Sweden who were like using these consoles to make like basically what was like electronic punk rock, which is like using these sounds for their like primitive nature. Like, you have, they're like the least defined sounds you can have. It's like the equivalent of an electric distorted guitar in punk rock. It's like the rawest, most like grating kind of.
You mean just the sound that comes out of the Nintendo?
Exactly, yeah. Like the square waves and the noise channel, like the and the beep beep, That's like not typically something that people go out of their way to hear because it's so, there's not much expression in it, like on its own. But part of the fun from the project comes from trying to make those non-expressive sounds expressive, I guess, and trying to like filter emotion through something that could be seen as like cold and robotic.
What are those games that hinted at the potential of the Nintendo as an instrument?
Well, there were a couple.
Mega Man, you said Mega Man.
Mega Man 2 was...
If you ask me, and
that was like the initial one.
I was never into video game soundtracks that much because I would play while another TV... I was fortunate enough to have 2 TVs on where I could play Mega Man while listening to cartoons. But if you asked me to name a game with a good soundtrack, I'd definitely say Mega Man. That opening, the theme song...
It's perfect.
Where it's like, it builds kind of slow and then it's like, boo! Do-do-do-do-do-do.
And it works with the visual as well. Like they were trying to illustrate a scene with like the skyscraper. And
right. Very cinematic for the opening of a Nintendo game.
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to like put you in a zone, which is awesome. Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because a lot of the time, like, you'd expect that I would like have played games for the music a lot of the time, but actually, like, even though all those songs are so memorable to me, there were a lot of times when like I would play through like Yoshi's Island or whatever, and I listened to Minor Threat throughout the whole time. And like,
talk about games with an interesting aesthetic. Yoshi's Island is one of the most unique looking games
and
I can
it doesn't
think of.
Really fit with Minor Threat either.
No, it does not. It looks like it was drawn in crayon, and Minor Threat is sort of aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you associate that game with Minor Threat.
There's a lot of weird associations.
But I want to get back to we got off track.
The games.
I want to get back to NES games. What are like the best NES game soundtracks?
The best NES game soundtracks are actually kind of soundtracks that I found retroactively from after using the hardware for a while to make music. There's one composer in particular named Tim Fallon who is from the UK, and he's just like widely regarded as like a chiptune like prodigy because he was super young when he was working with like all these companies. He would write his own software. He would write his own music, obviously. And
so he wasn't just creating the music; he was creating the software to write the music for the NES games.
Yeah, and other platforms as well. Yeah, like Commodore 64. And he he took the craft like super seriously and like tried to like cater to every single game that he was making. But yeah, some of the best soundtracks were made by him. Like Silver Surfer for NES is like just a technical like masterpiece. Like you look at it and you're like, how did he do that? It's insane. Like
when you listen to the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you look at the game or try to play the game,
no.
You do not think technical masterpiece.
No. The game is a complete piece of shit.
Let me read from the Wikipedia page for the Silver Surfer NES game. Many gamers, no citations on this, but it sounds pretty legit.
It sounds legit.
Now this podcast.
The hive mind has decided. Yeah.
Many gamers consider Silver Surfer to be one of the most difficult games in the NES library, mostly considered second only to Battletoads.
Battletoads is fucking impossible
Battletoads is really impossible, but it's also fun. Where Silver Surfer, it's Battletoads, you can get a foothold in it. You can do the first 2 levels.
You can kill an enemy at least.
Before, that speed bike's kind of the roadblock where you can't stop playing anymore. But you can like get in. Silver Surfer, I actually can't play Silver Surfer.
No, exactly.
More than
like they give you like it's like Mega Man status. They give you like 6 levels to choose from at the beginning, and you're like, oh, okay, well that one's really hard. Let me try another one. Oh no, I also died within 3 seconds on this one.
So have you ever actually gotten into this game, or you're just appreciating the music?
Never. I tried, and I was like, because I found the soundtrack first, and I was like, this is fantastic. And then I tried to play the game. I tried it a lot of times because I was really determined to like do it, and it just didn't work.
I feel so bad for that guy knowing that he put together this masterpiece, this completely underappreciated masterpiece, and no one will ever know it because it's buried in the shittiest game on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Well, another fantastic thing about Tim Fallon is he made one of his other most like fantastic soundtracks, or like that has like one of the best songs that he's written, technically with the NES, is in a game called Pictionary.
Pictionary, which is like the game your grandma would buy you when you'd ask for a video game and she'd buy you Pictionary to be disappointed.
You love Pictionary, right? You play it on your computer.
And it shouldn't have even been a video game. It's clearly better with just a pen and paper anyway.
I can't even imagine, like, that's another game where like I tried to play and actually couldn't. Like, I can't imagine what Pictionary on a Nintendo would be.
Do you have to draw and the 8-bit computer is guessing what you're drawing?
It's a Turing machine thing, like it's trying to be a human. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Do you think he can beat Silver Surfer?
No, absolutely not. I don't even think Silver Surfer could beat Silver Surfer.
What about non-video game musical influence? Before you mentioned Weezer?
Oh yeah, Weezer got me through high school, and then through college, and then through post-college, and then yeah.
When I was into Weezer, I was probably more into Weezer than I was ever into anything before or since. It was like,
Yeah.
I'd listen to Butterfly and be like, this is about me. This means something.
Exactly, dude. No, like, yeah, I have like pretty much every B-side you could possibly imagine, every unreleased song you could possibly imagine.
I have to admit, I'm kind of like a Weezer snob who's like kind of not so much into the post-Pinkerton stuff.
Me too. I always am the one that will give them a shot, even when the last one is really not good.
But you guys participated in a Weezer Weezer tribute album, an
we
8-bit
did.
Weezer tribute album, and you guys did Holiday.
Yes.
How can you hear the influence of Weezer, or can you hear the influence from Weezer in the Nintendo?
It's not so much in the Nintendo. It's more so the spirit that I choose to breathe into the Nintendo. Like there was something so charming about Weezer, how like they basically took metal and made it major. They made it happy, which I always thought was really appealing. But yeah, I mean, Anamanaguchi, we like the project has a lot of different influences. Definitely like the rock element comes from Weezer 100% though. Like that like straight pop, like basically the Weezer is like 90s Beach Boys to me, and that's like just their melodies are perfect, and that's what I love about them. And I guess that's why they work well on a Nintendo, is because the basically all of that you have is melody when you're working with those sounds. Like it puts a clear focus not on the sounds themselves, but like on what you're presenting, like the melody, the delivery of it. And if you have a really catchy melody,
which Weezer and the Beach Boys do.
Exactly. And which a lot of successful Nintendo soundtracks do too. Then it's going to work out awesome, because like you won't be able to get it out of your head. It's the melody in like the purest form.
I've been a fan of Anamanaguchi for a while. I've known you for a while. We have some mutual friends. And it seems like you guys got something of a big break when you did the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy for us.
So you did the soundtrack for the Scott Pilgrim movie video game.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
Even though the movie video game kind of resembled the comic book, but even then it was an 8-bit version of the comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like a River City Ransom clone, with art done by Paul Robertson, who is like my favorite pixel artist.
I mean, he's incredible. I don't even know if I can name a second pixel artist. He did Super Cabana Boy and what's the other one? Pirate Baby something?
Yeah, Pirate Baby, Cabana Boy, and Kings of Power, 4,000,000,000%.
And if you don't know them by the name, they're like these animations that look like games, but they were never really games. They're actually cartoons that look like games. And if you think you've seen what I'm talking about, that's it, because he's the guy that does that.
If you've seen like a grotesque anime babe with naked puking out maggots and rainbows, you've probably seen a Paul Robertson animated GIF, is my guess.
How did you guys get involved with that game?
We got contacted by Ubisoft. Just like, it was actually really weird. Like they contacted us like a year before they told us what it was, and we were like, okay, like Ubisoft wants us for a game. Is it going to be like Alien versus Predator versus Assassin's Creed, or what's going on? And then
I mean, already just even before it's tied to Scott Pilgrim, which is obviously this much loved thing in geek culture, just doing the soundtrack for a video game for someone like you who grew up with that must be so exciting.
Yeah, no, it was literally a dream come true. It was like
before you even knew the game.
Yeah. Well, and then when I found out that it was Scott Pilgrim, it was like kind of like a weird like magic moment thing, because I had literally just found a copy of Scott Pilgrim Volume 1 the day before we got the phone call. Like it was on the coffee table of I was like sleeping on a couch at a party, and it was like, oh, Scott Pilgrim Volume 1, that looks cool. And then I woke up 2 hours after I woke up, got a phone call. Yeah, by the way, it's Scott Pilgrim. I'm like, what? So yeah, the culture of that book, series, like it is very clearly like, you know, what we're about in a lot of ways. Like that whole like, you know, Kevin Smithy, John Hughesy upbringing, where like, you know, with girls and video games and bands and stuff. That's pretty much what Anamanaguchi is, I guess. Like pretty much it gave me an avenue to be like, Weezer did Suzanne for the end of Mallrats. I'm going to try to do the whole thing for this video game.
How does writing music for a video game or for a soundtrack just differ from writing music for yourself?
It's actually extremely different. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier because you're writing for something, and you're like the image. I like to write music for like zones, for like visual elements that like I kind of like conjure up in my head. It's basically a lot easier to write music for a soundtrack because you already have this entire visual landscape to work with. Like when I'm writing music for myself, I have to, it's kind of like a two-step process. The hardest part being getting the inspiration and getting like the setting for what I want the song to be. I wrote this song recently that's kind of like, I've always had this vision of like this kind of like Swedish village like covered in snow and like this like very vivid thing I've had for like years and stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna finally like try to put that into music. And it's kind of like writing music for a level in a lot of ways, but you have to design the level first when you're writing the music yourself. In the case of Scott Pilgrim, all the levels were already designed. So you know the rules of that zone, you know what works for that zone. And it like you know what kind of feeling, what kind of virtual feeling you're trying to get across with that music. In the instance of the first level in the game, the Toronto streets level, where you're supposed to be like chasing Ramona or whatever. Yeah, I wanted
it's covered in snow, kind of.
It's
a wintry scene.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to create something that was very wistful, but at the same time was pushing the player towards a goal. Something that was like super like uplifting, but at the same time very melancholy. And then like the next level, which is like the film set, I wanted to make something that was like, all right, you're on this journey now, and like you're ready to like have some fun, you know, and like spring break basically. So, I wanted to like create that vibe of like, all right, now you're on an adventure, and like you don't have to nothing to be sad about yet. You're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Did you guys find that you made a lot of new fans of the game? Did people hear the soundtrack, find out who made it, and then seek you out?
Yeah, absolutely. The Scott Pilgrim was like a nice kind of like window into like what we do, because like we weren't the focus of the project, but we worked really, really, really hard on it, and I think that showed. And the soundtrack I think resonated with a lot of gamers and like music fans who, you know, were unfamiliar with this concept of like chip music of basically 8-bit music that was not distinctly made for video games. Like, even though it's funny that there's like some weird meta levels to the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack in that it's not video game music for a video game that is video game music. It's like, it's weird. Like we weren't trying to write a video game soundtrack, but it is a video game soundtrack. Basically, we were trying to write like the Tony Hawk soundtrack.
It's a video game about a character who is obsessed with video games. Let me try that again.
Yeah.
It's the video game adaptation of a comic book. Wait.
Yeah.
It's the video game adaptation of a movie adaptation of a comic book where the main character sees his life through video games.
Exactly. And we're a band that uses video game hardware to create music that is not video game music, doing a video game soundtrack to that game of a movie of a comic.
And somehow it all worked out.
Basically, like there was a black hole, and then we all got sucked into it, and that game popped out.
When the game came out, did you play it?
Yeah,
with
totally.
your soundtrack?
Yeah, I did.
Because I feel like sometimes an actor, after the movie comes out, they don't want to see themselves in it anymore.
Yeah, no. There's I mean, I couldn't imagine anything cooler than playing a video game and hearing my own music. Honestly, it's like I said, a dream come true. It was like one of the most like surreal experiences ever. The band all played through it, and we weren't very good at it. But then I played through it with my friend Dave, and we pulled an all-nighter, and we destroyed it. So.
You guys have been in some other video games since. You're in Bit Trip Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Were you familiar with the Bit Trip series before you were in the game?
I was actually, yeah. Gaijin Games sponsored the Blip Festival in New York City a couple times, and we met the people who run it there. And they seemed like totally awesome dudes, and they had worked with other 8-bit artists like Nullsleep, BitShifter, Bubblyfish on the other Bit Trip games. And so when they contacted us...
Bit Trip, let me just quickly explain for those who aren't familiar with the series. It's a series of small games, and they're all kind of retro art, and the gameplay always intersects with the music. Like, you're always, whatever you're doing, the music is the level, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's always a little bit trippy, just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, We only provided the menu music and the credits music. They licensed some tracks that we had already put out. But yeah, that rules.
It seems like all these things like Scott Pilgrim and Bit Trip and your music, they all have this common thread of taking this old aesthetic and making it fresh again through new ideas.
Yeah, basically what we're interested in, especially in like the stuff that we're working on and about to like kind of release is we want to take those building blocks that you have such strong connotations to them. You're like, you hear these sounds and you're instantly transported into these worlds. We want to take those and completely recontextualize them, and we want to make them, you know, different. We want to put them in situations where you wouldn't expect them. Whether it's like a Spice Girls jam or like a crazy 200 BPM punk rock jam. I think Ari put it best when he plays guitar in the band. I think he put it best when he was describing it in an interview. He said something like, yeah, it's like going to a show, you know, you're there and you're listening to 8-bit music and you're like, oh, this is like totally like when I was growing up. This is like crazy. And then you're like, but wait, no, I'm totally drunk and I'm in a mosh pit. This is nothing like it was when I was growing up. This is very different.
The video games are kind of like that too. Not that you're drunk in a mosh pit, but you start playing Scott Pilgrim and you're like, oh, this is kind of like River City Ransom. But it exists in this weird world where it's not quite the thing that they took the graphics you're familiar with and made them look like they never. It looks like the old game, but it does stuff the old game was never capable of doing.
Exactly. It's almost like what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of create this setting as you in like the hyper realistic memory that you have of it, as opposed to what it actually is. Like revisiting these things, they can be kind of like cut and dry and sometimes boring, but like when you were a kid and you played them, they had this magical feeling to them and they had this like otherworldly feeling to them. I very much am interested in trying to create like different worlds through music, and more importantly, like with a kind of like keeping that child perspective, but realizing that times are different and we're drunk in a mosh pit.
What's next for Anamanaguchi? You said you were working on a new album?
Yeah, we're actually right now working with some. I'm running a bunch of NES tracks. Ari's running a bunch of tracks too. But yeah, right now we're like trying to write like 40 songs and then whittle it down. But we're interested in like having some like expanding our sonic vocabulary, so to speak, where
TurboGrafx, Master System.
In so many words, yeah. Basically, we're going to start using some other platforms, and we're going to start, you know, trying to get some other sounds in there, because we've used the Nintendo for a long time, and we're ready to do some more stuff, I guess.
But still using video game consoles at the core.
Yeah. Or at least video game aesthetics and video game sounds and 8-bit feels and the same things that will transport you into those zones.
Really cool. I'm looking forward to it. Where can people check out all this music that they've just heard us talk about for a long time?
On Anamanaguchi.com is a good place.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Pete. And Anamanaguchi.com. Check it out. There we go. Episode 1. And you know what? I thought it was kind of fun. For more Jeff Rubin Show, go to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. You can also go to jeffrubinshow.com, or you can go to my Tumblr blog at jeffrubin.com, or you can go to Twitter at Jeff Rubin Show, or you can go to my Facebook fan page. It's not just a podcast, it's a lifestyle, people. Let's talk more next week.